Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the Voiro podcast. Today we have with us two guests who are very inspiring personalities, and we've been looking forward to having them on the podcast for quite some time. First, we have Fahmeeda Cassim Surtee, who is the Group CEO of the DStv Media Sales Group in South Africa. Over the last 30 years, Fahmeeda has seen everything in broadcasting, media and advertising. Through her journey from a sports journalist leading up to the Group CEO of the DStv Media Sales Group. We also have with us Rani Bisal, who drives all their technology as the Executive Head of Business Optimization. We're very excited to speak to both of them about their respective journeys, what they've seen in our industry, and a peek into the future of technology, media, as well as the African market. Welcome, Fahmeeda and Rani. How are you both this morning?
Very good, Anand. Very excited to be a part of your podcast today.
Yeah, we're very excited to have both of you. We've always had people with interesting perspectives, interesting journeys to talk about our industry from your vantage point. And it's been a while that we wanted to have both of you on the podcast. So
Absolutely.
We are very excited.
Thanks, Anand.
Fahmeeda, my first question is for you. You've had the privilege of seeing this industry through different lenses. As a journalist, as an executive, and now as the CEO of a large organization like DMS. Can you walk us through what that journey has been and some key shifts that you've seen define the industry over the last 3 decades?
I'd like to ask Anand at this point, how much time do you actually have? Look, it's been an interesting journey. I do think that, having a fundamental basis of journalism does help you in business, simply because you learn the art of effective storytelling, which is something quite necessary in business. You learn the art of effective communication, which is also something that puts you in good stead to lead a business. And I think, those two sort of major skill sets that you need for journalism, and also networking, understanding, it's about finding the right story, finding the profile of the right person, getting a right comment, etc., chasing down a story, so there's this urgency or deadlines. So I would say that the transition from journalism to business is actually easy. It's just about whether you want to do it or not. So people stay in the journalism game because it's something that they love. They want to be a communicator across various media types, etc. I loved it during my time of journalism, but I think I do like the business part, simply because I've had very good grounding on that spectrum of media, as you say.
Rani, I had a follow-up question for you.
Sure.
I sometimes keep thinking about the fact that we as a generation have probably seen the largest shift in technology when compared to any previous generation. And what it's done for our lives, what it's done to put technology in our hands. Along your journey, how have you tackled the changing role that technology has played in our industry and the gigantic impact that it has on employees and colleagues as well as consumers? How have you seen that shift?
Sure. Again, as Fahmeeda said, how much time we have? Because it is something. Good part is, Anand, we live in this era where things are changing overnight. Because there was a point when we say nothing changes overnight. You can wait for 3 days, 2 days. And the only urgency that we had in any of the industries, it used to be medical. Because yes, if you are delayed by 2 seconds, a person can die. Military industries or army industries where people would definitely wait. If you don't shoot now, the other party or the enemy will shoot us down, right? So those are all the high emergency, and I would say maybe dynamic, that you have to be always on top of your tech to ensure that we support those kind of industries. But today, even media, if there is a millisecond of delay in getting the news to the audiences, they go crazy. For them, it's like it's equal to saving a life, right? So while we're living in that era, I would say there's a very critical act of balance that we have to do between our consumers. When I say consumers, who are the end users, then also the brands which connect the consumers and the tech that we carry as publishers. So there are a lot of, I would say, hand-holding has to happen between a lot of players in this ecosystem, the publisher, the tech provider, the end consumer, the client in terms of the brand who sits in between all of those, right? So making or keeping or staying relevant and relatable is something I completely believe. And in DMS, we have been doing that from the day zero, from the word go. As an instance, I can give you an example of, let's say, talk about shoppable TV. It is a piece of tech, but it enables the brands and the products to be readily available to the consumer. So consumer can scan while entertaining themselves while watching a content. Because if you see now, this has changed. Earlier, we used to switch off the TV, go out, have, let's say, 30 minutes of our time in a day for grocery, go out, meet people. Okay, that has definitely a much more, and personally, I think that is much more valuable than sitting in front of your television and then scanning a code and saying, I've done with my shopping. I would love to go and meet Anand and Fahmeeda in the marketplace and say, hey, let's go for a cup of coffee or a tea and then buy some vegetables together, come back home, cook. So that alignment and this is a change and shift of technology that has changed our behavior as in consumers. I never wanted to sit in front of TV and buy, but if tech and the brands and the publishers, like for example, MultiChoice as the publisher, DMS as the airtime provider, the brands as let's say the Unilevers, and consumers as the audiences of this particular, if we all are aligned to go and have a piece of that pie together, then why not? So what we do is we ensure our people are extremely relatable and, of course, relevant to the new tech, new age, and the transformation.
In some sense, I think it's giving us so much power, but it's also giving us the power to be lazier, so you don't have to move.
But that's why we need now smartwatches to track our steps, to make sure that we are acting like humans.
Breathe.
So it's almost, breathe, sleep, take, if you think about what tech has done to people's personal spaces, it's almost like going back to the old days, but getting somebody to govern how you should be doing things.
Yeah, I find my watch is getting snuffier
Exactly.
these days, because if I don't exercise for 3 days, it's like, maybe you could at least stand up. It's not that bad. All right, so I want to switch gears now and talk about the evolution of the industry. Consumers now are not in one place anymore, but it's not like we like an experience over the other. We like being on the go. We like sitting in one place. We like all of our devices, and we enjoy content like never before. There's a flood of content out there, but we are sitting with an almost bottomless appetite to consume all of it. So Fahmeeda, my question to you is, how have you been able to succeed time and again as a leader in a business that is evolving so rapidly and with consumers whose behavior is changing every minute? How have you been able to replicate your success as a leader?
Yeah, I would say that kind of constant learning, keeping up to date with what's going on in the market, what's going on with consumers. So making sure that you have the right insights to build the products that are there for our end users. I would also say, what has contributed to the success of my success as a leader, I would say, is that I always surround myself with really good people. I find that I enjoy people with diverse thinking. I don't want everyone to be in a group think setup. I don't want everyone to think like me. I advise them also to say, challenge me if you think that this is the wrong decision or the right decision. So I would say that what contributes to that success is that you create an organization where you've got diverse thinking. You've got what we call cognitive diversity these days. You've also got accessible leadership style, so people never ever feel afraid to have an opinion, to challenge what is on the table, because you know that you are not going to be put into a difficult situation after that. So I do think that bringing in a lot of emotional safety for your team and making sure that you have this balance of being able to challenge something, not only to challenge it for the sake of challenging, but challenging it with proposing an alternate solution is what I would say is that what I encourage. The industry will continuously transform. We've seen what's gone on in terms of media types. It's also happening in our industry. We've seen the transformation of digital formats taking over. We've seen the role traditional television plays, and we've also seen the role that new TV can actually play. So I would say I mean, and as per what I said earlier, it's just like continuous learning. Like, don't be afraid to learn.
Yeah, I have a special love for learning. In fact, one of my mentors always says, we are 3 months away from learning what we need to learn, and we're 3 months away from being obsolete if we stop learning. So somehow making it fun, making it a habit is something that I really love, and thank you for that. Rani, while this evolves on the consumer end and the business keeps transforming based on where consumers are going, what is your framework for ensuring that the right technologies can future-proof your business internally as well, so you can keep pace with consumers?
Okay. Right, the framework, because that's important. I like this question because it's not about the actual technology, it's about the framework. Look,
Do you think your engineering side is coming out, Rani?
I heard yesterday she was a gold medalist
Yes.
in engineering.
Yeah, thank you. So I think communication and awareness to the market, about the market, is extremely important. To the market, like to our clients, to our brands, to our products, and about the market within our organization to the employees. Because again, I'll repeat myself a bit here in terms of if you're not relevant, if you're not relatable, you're losing the plot completely. I like the initiative. It's a very old initiative called crowdsourcing, which started in 18th century. But then I think 15 years back, we all have seen how crowdsourcing had become such a big thing, and you co-innovate with consumers, because who best will tell us? Who better than the end consumer of your product tells you what is good or what is bad, right? So crowdsourcing with your consumers, with your brands, keeping your technology as the engine and data as the fuel. I think if that works as a great framework to ensure that everything is piped in, everything is immediate, everything is to the point and real. You don't have to always refer to a framework. You can always keep creating your framework if your fuel, the data, the engine, the tech, the consumers and the brands are always.
Yeah, I noticed even at the tech day on Monday that even employees are so aware of the kind of technology. I was watching Nico on stage and I looked at the range of questions he got asked, ranging from how are we doing as a product, how are we doing as a company, to, hey, why am I still using this badge to get into the building, right? We want technology to improve every aspect of our life as consumers as well as employees. All right, Fahmeeda, I want to switch to my favorite topic, which I know is very close to your heart, which is live sport. Throughout your journey, I know that sports has been so close to your heart and to your journey. Across the globe now, we're seeing a lot of money being spent on sports rights by broadcasters, by technology companies. It's almost as if it's hard to differentiate now between who's a tech company and who's a media company anymore. But we're also seeing the quantum of money being spent go higher and higher and higher, almost to a point where it may not even make sense from a financial perspective. What is it about sport that has the power to command that much value and be so integral to a broadcaster's portfolio to a point where everyone's fighting over it and paying so much money?
I love this question, and it comes at the appropriate time. As you know, we just recently won the Rugby World Cup in South Africa. And if you were in South Africa during the days after, and to witness the victory celebrations, the unity amongst people, you would be able to capture the emotion that people actually feel about a national team. So I do think sport has that unifying thing that, other things don't, so it does get people to bandy together. It does get people excited. It does tap into emotion like nothing else. So, and that's also the reason why I love it, personally as a consumer. I mean, there is nothing better for me than watching something as superior as a live sporting event, and whether that be cricket, whether that be football, or whether that be rugby, etc. It does definitely incite emotion. On the business part of it, I do think that I always wonder when will that sports bubble actually burst? Simply because, as you mentioned, Anand, it is becoming where the economics of sport seem to be, far outweighing everything else in business, etc. We see what footballers are being paid, or cricketers are being paid, or we see what sponsors or brands that want to be associated to to events or particular sporting codes have to invest, So we see that from our marketplace as well. We also see it on our broadcast platform, etc. And I think that this thing about brands being involved in sport, they really do it in order to drive engagement, because they know that when you are appealing to a consumer at that particular emotional moment, your brand is likely to be heard. So I think that is important to a marketer. So I think long may it continue is what I would say. On the sports rights stuff, if you look at broadcasters around the world, it is incredibly important, and the prices are going up. But I think broadcasters will have to make decisions based on how many subscribers they're going to attract or how much of ad revenue they're going to attract in order to be able to make the economics of the business model work. And they'll only be able to do it to a certain point, because they can't just break the bank as well. They've got to do it to a certain point. They've got to be able to deliver. But I think they would like to have it, right? So the end all of it is that businesses see sport as something that leads to success.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I think the emotional chord that it can strike, it has a power to do something that nothing else can.
Yeah.
We are approaching the end of the Cricket World Cup
Yes.
now. And I'm constantly seeing people cancel plans, move their schedule around because you want to be somewhere to watch the game. You want to watch it with friends. You want to make a social experience around it. I don't think any other form of content has that much emotional power.
Yeah, that's true.
It can make people cry. It can make people celebrate. It can make me go on a shopping spree. The kind of value that it can deliver.
Exactly.
All right. I have a fun question for both of you now, connected to sport. The intersection of technology and sport has always been a bit of a journey. A lot of purists have struggled with it. A lot of new age folks with movies like Moneyball have tried to sort of invest more in technology and data and sport. VAR and football, for example, or even tennis, where at the US Open this year, I noticed that there were no linesmen. Hawkeye has just completely replaced linesmen. Do you think that this kind of use of technology in sport is good for the sport, and will it translate to other sports?
Yeah, I think it depends on the sport. I would say in football, I find it frustrating that VAR for me slows down the sport. I also think that VAR, even is supposed to be an objective way of giving a decision. I feel that sometimes it has to go back to a human in order to make the overall decision. So you would see whenever a footballer appeals to something, or is the guy offside, was it a handball, was it something in particular, eventually they have to go to a human if the machine can't sort it out. So I think that a fine balance between the two is probably the ultimate way going forward. I do see the value of integrating technology into sport, and we can see that also from a data analytics point of view. I mean, a few years ago, remember that Leicester City had won the English Premier League, and they actually showed and shared that story as being the reason that they won is the use of data and analytics. So data analytics technology has a massive role to play in sport, but I would hate to see sport being slowed down because of that.
And Rani, what do you think about this?
I completely agree with Fahmeeda without copying exactly what you said.
Yeah.
But then, of course, in the world of cricket, we have seen, I think before even we talk about that, I think it's we as the consumers of these kind of sports or contents, our need for instant gratification has grown so high that even as going back to my first response to your question was, I can't wait for that millisecond to move to the next ball. That's who's going to bat, who's going to ball. But then at the same time, a fine balance between both is extremely important. Look at the third umpires and also the umpire. It can be a quick out, it can be a quick catch, it can be a quick 6, it can be a quick 4. But there are so many blind spots which we used to miss out earlier. Yeah. But now tech has resolved that part. Yeah. So definitely it has to be a striking balance between both. It should not be replaced. Yeah. Absolutely, it should not be replaced.
No, I'm with you. I think nothing can cause frustration in sport like either a referee gone wrong or the technology gone wrong, which I think is way worse. All right, to round things off, I want to take a peek into the future. Now we'll start with you, Rani.
Sure.
Like Nico said on Monday, we have a lot of shiny tech in our hands right now. Where do we go from here? Because if an organization has to set themselves up for the next 10, 15, 20 years, we don't even know what kind of technologies are going to sort of be on our horizon. It's hard to imagine that the whole chat GPT revolution is not even a year old right now, and it's made so much progress. So how do you future-proof a business when you don't know what kind of technologies are around the corner?
True. The good part is we go through this. I mean, we are going through this kind of a scenario in our company. DMS is 30 years old, 26.
27 years old.
27 years old. So in May or March next year, we're going to celebrate our 26 years. And which clearly shows that there are a lot of, I would say, technologies or products or processes that we use, which are legacy, but still useful, right? Which means that and the technology after 26 years, new tech has come, but still there are some pieces of, as I said, the product and the tech, we are still leveraging from those 26-year-old company. I think without, again, harping upon the fact that data is going to be or is forever. Data is going to be the key, the foundation, no more pillar. Data should not be the pillar. The data should be the foundation on which the other pillars have to be raised off, right? People, I would see, if I have to just talk about two aspects or one aspect, one is foundation has to be data, and the pillar, one pillar that will hold this entire world or the entire organization together for a future-proof kind of a scenario are people. If we train our people, instead of training them on a specific technology, of course, the need of the hour is there, and the access to learning and upskilling has become, and that is the best part of technology, which I see that has impact on education. Earlier, we have to wait for years and years to travel to a different country and then educate ourselves if I have to specifically go to a particular university. But today, it's just a click of a button. You pay your fee, and then you are speaking to the professor that you always dreamed about. So I think the impact of tech has been huge on tech education, learning, development. So I think we must leverage that part of tech where we can constantly continuously keep our employees, our people trained, upskilled, not only on the existing or the near to future technology, but skills like which are transformational in nature, agile thinking, system thinking, critical thinking, communications, effective communication, time management. Because and this is from a people perspective, if these, I would say, if your DNA has these kind of skills in you, any new tech comes, it will not impact the organization at all.
No, very, very well said, Rani. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Fahmeeda, my last question to you is, what does the future hold for our industry, content, broadcasting, media, advertising? And specifically, what does the future hold for the African market?
Yeah, I think it's an exciting future if you're willing to embrace it. Particularly for Africa, I think there are varying degrees of, because we can't look at Africa as a whole. We've got to look at it on a country-specific basis. Some countries have leapfrogged into connectivity faster than others. If we look at a territory like Kenya as an example, we see there where internet penetration is at very high levels. You see different formats of media arising, and you see them leapfrogging a lot of technologies that, perhaps European countries have adopted and have taken more years to adopt. So I would say that, digital transformation is bound to happen, across the African continent, but at varying degrees and at varying levels for various countries. I think streaming will be an absolute reality. So if we look at what's happening in the over-the-top space, this is something that's just going to become bigger and explode even further. I think there'll definitely be more opportunity for content creators across the market, because what we have seen, and I suppose you would see the exact same thing in a country like India, where people want to be they want customized or personalized content according to language or cultural sensitivity or any of that. It's the same as what we would have that view. So I would say there will be an explosion of content. I also think that, with all these sort of changes happening around consumer behavior, etc., and the launch of new technologies, streaming services, Africa still is at a huge opportunity stage for a lot of players in the market, whether you're a supplier of technology or whether you're a platform trying to build out, or whether you are in the creation of content space. So yeah, it's an exciting continent to be a part of.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. We and everyone at my company, we find both you and Rani to be very inspiring, and we're so honored to be working with you and your organization. So thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Anand.
Likewise.
Thank you. Thank you for being a good partner to our business too.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Anand.